Hello again, everybody. This is Eric Sullivan, continuing our journey into learning a little bit of Python. Today we are going to talk about lists. Might not sound like the most riveting thing, but what you will find is that the Python list is an essential piece of Python coding. So we're going to talk about indexing, we're going to talk about lists, and first let's just create a list. So open up a Google Colab document or a Jupyter notebook. I'll use those terms interchangeably, by the way. And let's just start creating one. Okay, so we're going to create a list. So I'm going to call it X. Now remember, this is a variable assignment, so the thing that is going to be on the right-hand side is going to be stored under the name X. Well, okay, X is not great. I'm going to call it my list. Notice there's no spaces in a name ever. All right, square brackets are going to make a list, and I'm just going to mash the number pad a few times. All right. Oops, I missed one. There we go. I now have a list. Okay, now if I run it, nothing should happen. Okay, let Colab start up here. Okay, there it is. Nothing happened. So if I print my list, it just spits it right back out to me. 4, 2, 6, 78, whatever. It's just a list of numbers. Now, I want you to do this too. I want you to create something called my list, mash the number keyboard a bunch of times, put a comma in between each individual entry. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to read individual entries from the list. We're going to grab the first entry, every other entry, the last entry, stuff like that. Getting used to how Python does lists is going to pay huge dividends as we do things like write loops and build plots and all sorts of other stuff. It's amazing how much the Python list is really fundamental to your programming. So here we go. I'm just going to write individual lines of code, and I'm going to, actually, here, let me just show you. So we're going to do like print. This is the first entry. I'll say colon, comma. All right, now the first entry from my list, okay? Now my list, square bracket. Now notice there's no space there. My list, square bracket. I'm just going to tell it which index in the list to read. Now, it would be sensible to say 1 for the first entry. Now, if I do Control-Enter, I get the number 2. Okay, well, that is actually my second entry. Python indexes starting at 0. So if I do my list of 0, that picks out the first entry from my list. So note, Python indexes starting at 0, right? This will catch you off guard sometimes. That's okay. We'll get used to it. Okay, so let's do the second entry. So it's my list of, okay, so if I start indexing at 0, so this would be the 0th, that would be the first, and now I've got the second entry in the list. Okay, so what if I did my list? Let's just skip the print command here for a second, just for simplicity. Okay, so now if that's 0, that's first, that's second. So if I do a 2 here, I should get the number 6 out, and I do. If I do a 3 here, I should get the number 78 out, and I do. If I do a 4, not 54, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I get the number 3 out, and so on. Okay, so you can read individual entries from a list, you just have to note that you start from 0. Now there's a nice one. If I do my list of -1, do this. I'm going to just stop talking for a second, do it, see what it did. No, seriously, actually go do this yourself. Okay, now I did it, and on mine it pulled out a 7, which was the last entry in the list. Okay, now this is kind of nice. I'm going to make this look a little bit nicer. Yep, index -1 is the last entry. Okay, so that's actually quite handy. So I could actually read, well, maybe it stands to reason that maybe I could do the second to last entry. So if I go to my list, the second to last entry might be, say, -2. Let's see if that actually happens. -2 gives me a 9, and there's the negative first entry, there's the negative second entry. So it lets me wrap back around and start reading the list from the opposite direction. Okay, that's pretty cool. Well, what if we wanted to read the list? Oops, I should comment this. Okay, what if we wanted to read, say, a certain number of indices in the list? So I'm going to do my list, a square bracket, just like I did before. Right? I'm hitting escape to get rid of the help stuff just to get it out of the way. So what if I want everything up to the third entry? What I'm going to do is I'm going to say :3. Let's try that. Now I'm starting to run off the screen, so I'm going to do print . And then I'm going to print this one. Oh, goodness. Okay, let's see what it did. The original is 4, 2, 6, 7, da, 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 right? Now, up to entry 3, but this is, let's see, entry 3, so 0, 1, 2. It only did 0, 1, and 2. So something that you're going to keep in mind is when you give it a range to look through, it will do everything up to, but not including that last one. So if I make that a 4, now I'm going to do 0, 1, 2, 3. The 0th entry, first entry, second entry, third entry. So if I did :8, that would be up to the 7th entry. And of course, there are only 7 of them in this particular case. If I did 9, ooh, it actually just kept on going. That shouldn't have happened. Oh, it actually just goes out to the very end. I didn't know Python would do that. I thought it would give me an error, actually. Okay, so 0 through 6, just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I equally could have done 0:6, and it does exactly the same thing. Start at 0, go to 6. Okay, let's do another one. Oops, since I'm done with that one, I'm going to go there. Okay, now that I have the right one. So up to entry 5. But let's do every other. Okay, so this is my list, colon. I'm going to do 0, :6, colon. And now I can tell it where, I can tell it how far to, or I'm sorry, I can tell it what to read by. So if I go by 2s, it should go 0, 2, 4, 6. Let's see what it did. So that did the 0th entry, that's the 4. 1, 2, then it did the second entry, 3, 4, then it did the 4th entry, 5, 6, but it doesn't actually read the 6th one. It goes to everything but the last entry here. Okay? Okay, so what if I want the whole list by every third entry? So let's do my list. Okay, I'm going to do colon, start at 0, so that's implied here. I want to just go through the whole thing, :3. This is going to take us a second to parse down. Okay, nothing here, so this means I'm going to start at 0. Nothing here, that means read through the end. Last thing is a 3, that means read every third index. So I did the 0 index, that's this one. 1, 2, 3, then it read this one. 4, 5, 6, then it read this one, and it ran into the end, so it stopped. Okay, if I did this by 2, so I did every second entry, that's going to be the 0th entry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the next time it stops because it reaches the end. If I wanted to do every 4th, I can do every 4th. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8's not there. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do every 3rd starting at index 2. So that would be my list. I want to start at index 2, colon. I'm going to go all the way to the end, so nothing here, and I want to go by 3s. So let's see what it did. So every 3rd starting at index 2, so 0, 1, 2, there's my index 2, and then 1, 2, 3 more from there, and then 1, 2, 3 more from there puts me off the list. That's it. Okay. I have talked to you about indexing, and I've talked to you about reading entries from a list. I think I'm going to stop this video there, but before I do, I need you to go back and do all of these things yourself. Play with it, fiddle around with it, see if you can do a couple of cool things with these lists. See you in the next video.